Amnesia and Puyo Puyo, am I right? Perhaps I'm overestimating how big a talking point this is in the Puyo Puyo fandom. I'm in my corner a lot of the time. I don't chit-chat with others much because social skills. But from my understanding, there's this narrative going around that Puyo Puyo has a status quo where characters keep forgetting each other. And for the record, I'm only going to talk about the canon as of Puyo Puyo Fever onward. You can find the reason why in this video here. I'm not here to debunk it, not our video, the forgetting thing. It's even true to an extent. I'm merely here to throw the extent of which it is true into question, because I'm onto something. So for context, after the events of Puyo Puyo Tetris 1, the Puyo and Tetris dimensions untangled themselves, and Cataclysm and Depression were averted. People of each dimension said goodbye, knowing they'd probably never meet again, but they'd never forget each other. Come Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, they forgot each other. That's half true anyway. Their subconscious remembers each other, even if they don't actively remember each other. And that amount of remembering makes the will of the worlds Junior Squares upset because he's a diaper baby boy who doesn't like change. That's the main amnesia the plot of Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 deals with. But is this really a status quo thing? This only really concerns two, technically 3 games with Chronicle, doesn't it? The writer of Puyo Puyo Tetris games also wrote Puyo Puyo 20th Anniversary. And let me tell you, this game, barring a few exceptions from Puyo Puyo 15th Anniversary because of how that story works, this game is hecking good at keeping track of who should know who. Take my word for it, I'm not going to dig for examples, but I can point out a counterexample I'm immediately going to explain away. Ringo in 20th Anniversary doesn't seem to remember characters she's known for only one fight in Puyo Puyo 7, because before 20th Anniversary, Puyo Puyo 7 was the first and only time Ringo met all these characters at the time. Do you remember that average Joe you said hi to on the street? Probably not. Do you remember that average Joe you spend a lot of time explaining your world to on a train ride to save the world? Probably. And to Ringo, those people are Amity, Skatadara, Satan, and Arl. And these 4 plus Ringo do remember each other, despite being from other worlds. There is a care shown there, and I doubt the same writer would suddenly not care in just amnesia characters to make things easy. And I don't think she did. Pay attention to Puyo Puyo Tetris 2's story. It is well written, and making the amnesia a major plot point, while it also serves as a jumping on point for people who start with Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, I think it may have made it harder to write, honestly. She didn't need to do the amnesia thing regarding the reunited dimensions, as far as I'm aware. She's written a Puyo game before that proves that point, and its 20th anniversary, which is for all intents and purposes is Puyo Puyo 7 2, the sequel to Puyo Puyo 7, in the same way Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is a sequel to Puyo Puyo Tetris 1. And the amnesia is framed as a bad thing in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, as far as the characters are concerned. I forgot if the story, perhaps cleverly so, points the finger at anyone or anything responsible for the dimensional memory loss, or if it would happen again. Sure, S says they'll probably forget each other again during stage 7-8, but she's not a frickin' authority on the subject, now is she? And the 2 people who do know, both of them being the will of the world standing within earshot of her, don't answer if it. The culprit could be Diaper Baby Boy Squares. He's the most likely culprit, but we don't know. Even if it was him, he befriended everyone. The second to last non-post-game fight in the game, Stage 7-7, is just a friendly puzzle game with him. Stage 7-8 is not so much fighting him as it is defusing him because he's a bomb all of a sudden because he ate too much candy and it's biting him in the ass. Nenaline told me that there is an explanation given by Ekolo in the novel Amity and the Girl of Love, and Ekolo tells us no one is to blame. So what's the point of all of this? Good question, I think I've been digressing too much. The type of amnesia here is, even though the dimensions make you forget, your heart remembers. This is consistent in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. This affects the following groups: Tetra Crew, the regular cast, and Ali World in the book. Ali is affected too by this as shown in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2's Stage P1 when Arul and Ringo discuss how familiar Skill Battle seems to them. Skill Battle being Puyo Puyo Chronicles' unique mode. And all of Stage 6S where Arul's name rings familiar in Ali's head, their hearts remember that game, even if it's just a vague blur in their heads, so the world of Puyo Puyo Chronicle is a different dimension. My point is not to make you accept the amnesia, even though I'm probably the only one who kinda likes it in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. I think it has a fun but beautiful element of tragedy to it. My point is, why is this considered a status quo in the circles I dwell in, when it's only a major Puyo Puyo game to do this? Every previous game since Puyo Puyo Fever has done a decent job of keeping track who'd reasonably know who, not to mention things happen off screen like in 20th Anniversary, you met Draco before off screen, for example. Why? I don't know. Apparently mandates, but what I do know is that there's a scene in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 that muddies the waters a little that seems divorced from mandates. It's Stage 5S2. For context, all of Stage 5S seems to take place soon after Stage 2.8. In 2.8, you beat up Marl, she has a headache because of the protagonist. Marl is brainwashed, and the things that she's been told by the protagonists give her a headache because she can't process it. She's not allowed to because she's forced to think something else. Notice her change of voice now, and then after her fight.
What I want is the fun you all share with each other. That hasn't changed. Everything will be fun forever this way. Isn't that just wonderful? Your mouth. It's spewing nonsense. Try shutting it. I happen to think this is plenty of fun. It was fun, wasn't it? Please, tell me you had fun. You're right, Amity. I am? Of course. I nearly forgot what kind of person you are.
Good. Then does that. And somehow ends up in Primp with no memory in Stage 5S. When Marl starts to remember, she becomes Dark Marl again. You can hear from the difference in the tone of voice even if she doesn't physically transform.
I'm sorry? I've never been here before. My name is Marl. Beyond that, my memory's too fuzzy. They're fun. Fun. Hey, Witch. I think the potion from earlier is finally working. I can think clearly now. Well, I better get going.
Side note, in case you didn't know, the only difference between the two versions of Marl is that one's brainwashed and the other's not. Dark Marl isn't some alternate evil personality or something, it's the same personality with thought restrictions, and her core values are being twisted and tricked into doing things she doesn't want to do. Marl suffered a different type of amnesia than the rest of the cast did during this game. Heck, she suffered 2 different types, but I'm not going into the memory squares locked away from her. No, it just seems regular Marl suffered from regular cartoon amnesia. Meanwhile, the type of the rest of the cast just forgot the events of Puyo Puyo Tetris 1 and Chronicle, not literally anything but their names. But you might think otherwise if you listen to Witch's words in Stage 5S2.
I get what you're going through. You get warped out of nowhere, you get a little rattled. You get a touch of amnesia, happens all the time.
We don't see how this happened, but I have a hunch what happened. In Stage 5S1, Witch introduces herself to the audience. She explains how she got from her world to Primptown. She just says she got warped to this new location where she has just set up shop. We can assume she got there because one day she was playing Puyo Puyo, then suddenly she got transported to Primp. That's how it worked since Puyo Puyo Fever at the earliest, and Puyo Puyo 15th at the latest concretely established it. I'm not sure, but I don't need accuracy regarding when that plot point got introduced and or established, it's just a thing that's been around for a long time. When you get warped to a destination like this, you fall like a shooting star to the ground. As shown herein with Skatadara, Nasu Grave, Zor Daimao, Rulu, Shezo, and Satan in Puyo Puyo 15th, with Ringo, Maguro, Ritsukuma, and Ekolo in Puyo Puyo 20th, and with Amity, Arl, and Carbuncle in Puyo Puyo Tetris 1. So something similar must have happened to Witch at some point. In fact, I know it happened to Witch at some point. Witch introduces herself in Puyo Puyo 20th Anniversary to tell the players she's been in Primp for a little while as well, and she explicitly said it's because Puyo Puyo battles that time. So why do that again in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 in Stage 5S? When T crashes right in front of Ringo just like Amity and Arl did on Puyo Puyo Tetris 1, and Arl and Amity find themselves on Ringo's world yet again. So why explain it in Stage 5S1 if it didn't have a purpose? Well, there is, I just don't think it's that obvious. At worst, this stage is Witch giving Marl the most likely answer.
I get what you're going through. You get warped out of nowhere, you get a little rattled. You get a touch of amnesia, happens all the time.
Something that possibly happened to Witch even? Who knows? At best she's correct. Marl crashes onto the ground, conked her head, and lost her memory, and we just didn't get to see that happen. That, or she got such a headache in Stage 2A that she just repressed everything she knows. Which isn't referring to dimensional amnesia at all. Marl may as well have gotten amnesia like this. Or this. Pick your Marl harming poison. And if you think I'm reaching, this exact same thing happened to Amity in Puyo Puyo 7. I don't think it's explained in how she got amnesia. If it's explained, it's not in the Amity battle cutscenes. But what other explanation is there besides that she hit her head while falling like a shooting star? I'm 90% sure all of Amity's schoolmates travel the same way to Ringo's world, and they don't have amnesia, and likely never got amnesia traveling to Suzerain. And even if she did, as the battle with Amity showed, you can very easily get your memory back. The statement of which might be the most obtuse reference to Puyo Puyo 7 possible, but this is what I think. This instance Witch is pointing out isn't a sign of the Puyo Puyo status quo, it's a deep-cut reference to Puyo Puyo 7. It's a cartoonish amnesia plot point, when a major plot point of the game is a cosmic kind of amnesia. Confusing things. Heck, I forgot about Ekolo. He lost his memory too in Puyo Puyo 20th. That's a major plot point, and he doesn't remember anything until the very end of the game. But I just assumed, just like Amity, he just bumped his head as he was crashing down, somehow. Puyo Puyo 7 explains he's not made of physical substance, but Puyo Puyo 20th just disregards that most of the time. That, or his core got hit badly and that got his memories lost. But I wouldn't call that a sign of the status quo, or dimensional amnesia, I just call that a plot device. Speaking of Ekolo, he's a special case. People around him tend not to remember him. That's his thing. I'm pretty sure I can show you 2 different instances of Amity meeting Ekolo for the first time in 20th alone if I went looking for it. If anyone forgets Ekolo, then that doesn't count. So that's what I think about it anyway. We won't know if the dimensional-based amnesia will stick around. Again, they were just careful not to give an answer to that. So I guess it's just a wait and see when next we see Ali again in a main plot. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm preaching to the choir here, or if I'm trying to calm down an angry mob as a third party, or if I'm telling people what they already know, or what have you. My friendship circle is very small, so I tend to hear the same thing a lot. But regardless, I thought I'd give a Puyo Puyo lore Q&A type video, except it's me who gives an answer to a sorta question I sorta gave myself. I could be wrong, this video could be horribly dated, but I'm not going to apologise for being optimistic. I can't be proven wrong yet. But since Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is the first game that did the dimensional amnesia thing, and there's been no game since that's done that as well, I don't think you can call that a status quo. Now, I've been neglecting 2 other sources, Puyo Puyo Quest and Puyo Puyo Amity and the Girl of Love. I can't vouch for Puyo Puyo Quest at all, so forgive me there. But I also haven't read the light novel Amity and the Girl of Love. But I have been told it has the dimensional amnesia thing. They remember Ali in their subconscious, but not their conscious. This could be a sign of a mandate, or the writer of the novel, the very same as Puyo Puyo 20th, Puyo Puyo Tetris 1 and 2, was mandated to give this potentially, maybe not, canon novel a reason for them to not remember Ali, so they could properly reintroduce her in a proper game. Because as sad as it is to say, light novels based on licensed products are disposable. They are not expected to be preserved. I've been told these books have been getting reprints, but my point still stands in the sense generally speaking it's best to keep the big reunion in a video game, the primary form of media Puyo Puyo exists in, rather than a book. So if you're asked to/want to reintroduce Ali in a novel, but you also want to make it canon, then Ali can just come back next game with no explanation or fanfare. If you introduce an amnesia aspect to it, you can have Ali in it, and once she's ready to be reintroduced in a main game, then that's the real reunion between Ali and the great hero right there. And the writer just reused the amnesia concept for Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 for some reason. The writer is smart, trust me on this. Apparently, she has a degree in philosophy. It's a smart move, you don't have to like that move, but it's a solution she came to. But I wouldn't know. I really don't know. I'm making assumptions here. I'm not going to read that novel, not for this video at least. It's just a wait until we see Ali again in a story where she wasn't a last minute addition, to see myself proven wrong when the amnesia thing isn't undone in the story. And I'm not here to argue that, I just want to unmuddy the amnesia waters. I feel like I've sort of contributed to it. I can't place if I did or not, but regardless I'm feeling a bit guilty about that, so I wanted to give it an alternate perspective. Also, if you've been wondering as to why Ringo's world is exempt from this dimensional amnesia stuff, first off, the Puyo and Tetris dimensions are often called words, but that's a misnomer. They are different dimensions. The way I see it, Ringo and Amity's worlds are separate planets on the same destination. Here's a graph of how I see it. And, well, as for me, Mr. Voiceover person for this video, I don't feel too strongly about this whole amnesia thing for these Puyo games. I mean, I'm more of a compile era person when it comes to Puyo, so if I had to guess, it's probably some sort of Sega mandate that makes Puyo games so simplistic in terms of their story. Obviously, I don't think Sega are going out of their way to dumb things down, but you can tell Sega isn't trying to make the next Final Fantasy VII or Mother 3 out of a Puyo game. They're just trying to make a game that appeals to kids and adults, with being lighthearted, being a little fun, and, you know, that's alright. I do kind of hope that they don't bring back an Amnesia subplot for whenever the next Puyo game comes. I kind of hope they just do something new. Or go back to the basics and make something simple like a compile era Puyo game plot. Oh yeah, also hi, I'm Jonathan. I make Puyo videos too, some of which might be on screen right now, I'm not sure. But if you want, check them out. And I might make more Puyo videos soon, so check those out in the future if you happen to be watching this after the upload date.